Alright, back in this place, looking bald as usual. It's great. Love looking bald. I really still am on the fence about shaving my head, so I don't think anyone can convince me. It's definitely a decision I have to make for myself, but like, can we not see the vision? Oh my gosh. Bald. Bald, 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 bald. Hey guys, Natchat here. Welcome back to my channel. So today is not my first Natchat, but we're bringing them back. Today's Natchat is about money, and we're going to talk about a few tips, actually 5 tips about money that I've started to implement in my life, and they've actually helped me kind of get on the track where I need to be as a fully functioning adult in society who, you know, saves some coin, securing the bag. Tips for managing your money, for budgeting, for securing the bag, getting the coin, whatever you want to call it. We're doing it. Today's Natchat is all about money. I look at my demographic of the people that watch my videos, and they are usually people under 30, and I feel like when I talk to people on Twitter and when we discuss these things, if you're not following me on Twitter, follow me on Twitter. That's a plug, @SoNatG. Anyways, back into money. I feel like we're talking about these things and we all have the same consensus. So this video is more so to help all of us, you know, get those tips and tricks down pat. And also for my younger subscribers, for you to kind of catch on early on and realize that maybe there are certain things that you can do, certain habits that you can start building now in your young age that will help you from ending up like me, a 26-year-old on YouTube who's not necessarily broke, but she ain't rich either. So let's get into tip number 1. I wrote these down, I took a picture of it. So smart. So tip number 1 is budgeting. Budget, budget, budget. And I don't mean budgeting in the sense that, how do I want to say this? When I'm talking about budgeting, I mean watching how you're spending and planning how you're spending. I feel like I started saving more money as soon as I saw where it was going. And a lot of people say, oh yeah, like look at your statement, stuff like that. I'm like, I'm not talking about that. I literally have an Excel spreadsheet where I write out every single purchase that I'm making. I also try to plan for purchases in advance. So right now I'm like 2-3 pays in advance. I know how I'm allocating my money. Why this is great? This is great because at the end of the day, I don't know what it is about really seeing your money go, like planning it out, that really helps you save. Like, you know when you tap, like that is dangerous because you don't realize till you get home. So you were at the mall all day, at the food court, you were wherever you needed to be, getting gas, doing all those things all willy-nilly, and you get home and sometimes you don't even check your bank account balance because you're like, it's good, it's there, and it might be there, but then the next pay comes, you do the same thing again, the next pay comes, you do the same thing again, and there's no real structure or guidance or balance in between the spending, the work, the play. That's where budgeting really helps. So I literally have $500 come out of every pay and it goes into savings, different savings accounts, and then everything else is for like bills, play. If I want to add more savings on top, I allocate that accordingly. That's what I would definitely recommend for you guys to do, is just start pushing money away to the side, number 1, and then having a lump sum of a figure that you feel like works for you, and then plan for it. That's no more pop-up shops. That's no more pop-up brunches and dinners. And if they do happen, what I do is I just add them to the budget, and then that way I can see where my money's going. And then the next pay, I was like, oh crap, yeah, I did go for that brunch last pay, so let me make sure to maybe add a little bit more into savings, or make sure I don't do that again this pay. It just really makes you more conscious. You're really conscientious of the purchases you're making and just seeing it and allocating it. Also, what it does is it kind of catches you. Like, it literally makes you go, you thought that's what you could do this pay, you thought you could do all those things, but you can't. And a lot of times when you're in the middle of paying for something, you usually find a way to make it work. I don't know about you, but I do. So that is the transfer from savings to checking things that we do, and that's why there's no money in there. So if you take whatever you're getting paid and you plan for it, it basically makes you sit, like your bank account doesn't do that face, you know, because at the end of the day, you've already seen it and you already know, okay, if it's not happening this pay, I can plan for it the next pay or the pay after that. It doesn't have to happen right now. It's just basically planning it all over. It just makes your life so much easier in the long run, and you save a lot quicker because you know what you're working with and you try your best to only work with what you're working with. Before I get into the next tip, part of budgeting, or a subset of it, is thinking ahead. It's November, so think ahead. Next month is Christmas. Right now, we have a good month before Christmas, so you probably have at least 2 or 3 paydays in between there. So start planning ahead for that. So if you know you're buying a whole bunch of people gifts, start putting money away for that. That way you're not the week of Christmas eating ramen and like, I don't know what else, like instant food, frozen food, mac and cheese. Like, try to avoid that. So plan for right now and start budgeting and saving money so that when these things that are happening in the future happen, you're ready for them. Tip number 2, meet with your bank. I recommend this only because it's a good conversation to have with someone who knows about the bank, the banking industry, money, all that stuff. It doesn't necessarily mean to go and invest in the bank, start looking at stocks and stuff like that. It's just to meet with your bank and have a conversation about what your goals are for your money, what you're trying to do. So when I met with my bank in the last couple months, I said I don't necessarily want to save for a house. It's not necessarily what my next goal is, but it is definitely to start just saving. So he helped me, my advisor helped me set that up by giving me like 4 different savings accounts. One is a TFSA. If you are not in Canada, that is a tax-free savings account. And basically that just goes, I have money that goes straight into there. That's basically untouchable. And then I have other ones that I can manipulate a little bit more. So those are more so like my emergency reserves of money. So I definitely recommend that because you can figure out a plan that works for you. And also I have my automated savings come directly from my paycheck every 2 weeks. And I don't see that money. I don't look at it. It just sits there and collects dust, which is great. A subset of meeting with your bank is also figuring out things like credit. So I went to my bank, and my bank advisor recommended a really good credit card that he thinks would be good for me because it would help me maintain my savings, and I would just put everything on the credit card and pay it off in a way that I would be basically only working out of the credit card, and I could not ever be tempted to use the savings that I'm storing. It's basically how he was pitching it to me. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to apply because my credit is not good. So when I say my credit is not good, I have a student loan, I went to school, I went to university. That's a conversation for another time. But at the end of the day, that's something that I'm paying off, and it literally weighs me down on top of poor decisions I made as a teenager. I had some credit cards that I was like not paying when I was 20, 21, and I found out, now that I'm obviously looking into it, that things stay on your credit report for 7 years. 7 whole years. So realistically, the decisions you make, to my younger subscribers, the decisions you make right now are going to affect you later on. Why is credit so important? It's basically your lifeblood, unfortunately. That is how you get a car, that is how you get a house, and that's also how you just kind of like move through the world when you need to do certain things. Like Tyler and I were planning on moving, and they had to do credit checks. They need to make sure that we have stable income and that we don't have a whole bunch of, other things that we're paying off at the same time. So I really would advise you to also look into your credit and figure out where you stand. So that is something that I did also. There's Credit Karma. You can also sign up for like TransUnion, Equifax, and you can get accounts. You do have to pay for them ultimately, but realistically it's good because you can see your credit score, you can get credit alerts, you can also, they send you emails on tips on how to improve your credit. So things like that, and just it gets you in that mind frame of like, this is something I need to be aware of, and I need to make better decisions on how I maintain my credit now and how I'm building my credit and the things that I need to pay off, kind of thing, So just do that because I think it's good to have an overall feel. Tip number 3. Well, I kind of talked about it with the bank part. Opening savings, opening automatic savings. You don't need to see that money. You don't need to touch that money. Like, I cannot tell you how, like, when I do my taxes every year, I look at all the receipts. Like, I need to see the receipts.
No way. No way. I want to see the receipts.
Because where did the money go? I have no idea. So when you have an automatic savings, you don't see it. You don't touch it. The money that came out, it doesn't exist, girl. We don't know her. Sorry to this man. Sorry to that money. It doesn't exist. Like, you need to understand that there's something so... It's so weird. Like, why do we think that way? Like, we see the money and it's just like, yeah, I gotta spend it. And that's where that whole saying of like, more money, more problems comes from. Because I truly believe if we don't see it, we don't spend it. And literally that's how my savings have been like piling up in the last couple months, because I don't see it in my direct checkings account. It's still in like a subset savings. It takes 2 or 3 days to transfer. So if I really wanted to, I could just transfer a bunch of money, but it just, because it doesn't exist and it's all that work, I'm not spending it. So it's like, why, when it's in my bank account, do I want to spend it? And why do I spend it? So you know what? I don't know what the exact mental part of it is, why we do it. I don't understand, but I really truly believe opening an auto savings is one of the best things you can do, just because you honestly don't even think about it. Tip number 4 is to learn about your credit card. Touched on this already, like I'm all over the place, but essentially learning about your credit card, what I mean is you could really use your credit card to your advantage, and that can also help you save money. So one, with your credit cards, it doesn't matter how often they offer you to increase your limit. I definitely don't recommend getting anything more than like $1,000 or $2,000, because like if we jump back to point 3, once we see that that money is there, we all of a sudden want to spend it. Like we're not getting back into it, but that is why stick to something with a smaller limit. And essentially what you want to always try to do is, obviously, whatever you use, pay back right away. What I did learn when I sat down with my advisor is that even if you don't pay back everything right away, you should be paying back at least 50% of the balance. Yeah, so when you're having half of the balance of your credit card, 1, your interest that is there is obviously going to be lower. 2, you're making more than the minimum payment, so that makes your credit look good, and as well as the credit card company doesn't recognize you as a risk because of the fact that you're willing to pay off at least half of the balance. And 3, because you're keeping some of the balance, or at least you're using the card in that way, you're also improving your credit at the same time, because they're seeing that you're not reliant on the credit. So that, it's all up here. So those are the reasons why you could definitely use your credit card to your advantage, and that will also help you not be in your bank account at all. So if you have your credit card, you have something that has limited funds on it, and you're responsible for paying it back at the end of the month. If you maintain that mentality, don't go into, oh, there's all this money that I can spend. You have to pay it back. That's not how it works. But if you definitely use it in the sense that it's a limited allocated resource of money, then you could definitely, you have to pay it back, when you get home, or in 2 or 3 days. As you use that logic to it, you'll definitely end up not using the extra money that you have tucked away into your bank account, because it's a different card. So use that. Why do I do this? So if you use it that way, it'll definitely help you save money, because you're not using your bank card. Tip number 5. Tip number 5 is spend your money wisely. This is the most important part, and it basically touches on everything else. The reason why it's the most important part is because we buy absolute garbage, like absolute trash, and that is problematic. I did a video a couple weeks ago from Pretty Little Thing. I will link it over here, and it was my fall haul, and I wanted to make it financial fashion in the sense that whatever I was buying had to make sense for my closet, and it had to make sense for me, and it was also on sale. So I wanted to make sure that I was using and wearing all the things that I had bought. Also, when I sat down with my advisor, he said to me, he was like, listen, when you're buying things, because he's going through all my he's like, you're spending an awful lot of money, Missy. And he's going through them, and he's like, when you buy these things and you spend that money, how often are you using that thing? How often are you wearing that thing? Basically, his example was anything that you buy, you should be able to wear out its dollar value. So what he means by that is if it's $50, you should be able to wear it at least 50 times and get the full use of that garment until it's at least less than $1 to you. Because at that point, you're basically wearing it for free. And I was like, sir, that's smart, but there's not that many things that I'm gonna wear 50 times. Like, it's not in me. Like, I don't know what it is.
It's not realistic. It's just not realistic.
But it did make me think. For makeup, it's a bit more difficult, because something like a primer I could use like over 30 times and I could use until it's finished, and I've basically gotten my use out of it. But there are also things like an eyeshadow palette that are maybe $50 that I could probably still use 50 times, but I'm not gonna ever finish that. It'll probably get thrown away before I finish it. So it is also just being conscious of the things that you're buying and how often are you really going to use them. I love a flex. I love a drip. I love to serve looks. That is me all the way. Things like jeans and shoes are really easy to wear out, which I love, and that's why they're very easy to buy. I don't need any convincing for those kind of things. But when it comes to things like club wear, dresses, I will be sporadic and I will purchase whatever I want to wear for that moment. But if I really think about it in an intelligent way, I could probably work around it and buy things that will make more sense. So like right now, I'm going through my closet and I'm like, I have no club wear or nothing that's like suitable to wear out, and it's because all the things that I had bought in the past couple of years, I had to throw away because either they didn't fit, I didn't like them anymore, the colors were weird, the garments were trash. Like there's a lot of reasons, but if I had used the logic like how many times am I gonna wear something, what is the quality of the product, how much wear am I gonna get out of it, then I probably would have a little bit more left. I was like literally struggling. I'm struggling. Like there's nothing in my closet. So that's what my next haul is gonna be. It's gonna be other things because I do need like jeans right now, but also I'm gonna toss in some club wear because I'm lacking, but it has to be stuff that works. Like I'm like, I don't have a decent little black dress. I don't have a decent like little black skirt. And these are things where I'm like, so when I spend my money and I'm going to shop, why did I not ever pick up these basic core elements that should be in my closet that I can get lots of wears out of? So when you are spending your money, just spend it wisely. Think about what you're really buying and if it makes sense for you. So those are my 5 tips for saving some money. I definitely understand that everyone's situation is different, everyone's income is different, but even when I wasn't making that much money, I do believe there were still times where I could really have been saving. So even though you may not be able to implement all of these tips, at least you could maybe implement a budget, and maybe it's not necessarily a budget in the sense that it's adding a constraint to you, but it could definitely be a budget in the sense that you're aware of where your money is going, and you could also maybe find opportunities where you could have saved a little bit more. Thanks so much for watching that video. Guys, I hope you enjoyed it. I want to do more conversational style Natchats. I'm going to try to do like one once a month. There'll be different topics. The ones that I have coming up are some spicy ones. Money was just the, opener. She was just coming in because I talk about it a lot and I realized there's a lot of stuff that I just didn't know when I was a kid, and a lot of people around me, we have the same like, what the heck? So I really want to talk about money. I think next month I want to talk about marriage, which is, and the month after that, I'm going to talk about buying a house. We're gonna get deep. We're gonna talk about lots of stuff, but I want it to be fun and light, and I want you guys to also enjoy it. So if you have any topics that you'd like to recommend for me to talk about during my next Nat Chat, please leave them in the comments down below. If you did like this video, be sure to give it a big thumbs up, and as always, please subscribe to me. It means so much. It doesn't pay my bills, but it could. So just hit that button right there. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.